E hine huri awa I wae koro pupu I te puna o hui te rangi ora. Mau mai haere mai kia wete kia wete kia te manawa nui o wai rua e. Te wai puna tua tahi, te wai puna tua rua e horo nei e. E hine huri awa I wae koro pupu I te puna tapu o hui te rangi ora. Nau mai haere mai e.
From the mountains to the sea, this video celebrates and reveals the state of rivers and streams. It shows people are taking action and how this action is vital.
Whaia, 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 ki te uru tapu nui o tāne, tāne te wai oro, tāne te wānanga, tāne te pūkenga, tāne te whakaputa nei. Ki te whaia, ki te o marama, tū te ngana, tū ka maranga, te tuhi, te rarama, tēnei au e noho matāra nei. E rongo whakairi ki runga, tūturo whiti whakamaua kia tina, ui e taiki e.
In the Waimea catchment alone, it is estimated that in total there are over 115,000 occasions a year when people swam in a local river. This was the equivalent of over 2 swims for each person living in the area from Nelson to Richmond and to Wakefield. The Lee and the Roding rivers were the most popular.
All the waterways on the earth on Papatūānuku are similar to the lifeblood running through our veins and arteries in that way. That Tihei Mauri Ora is really the meaning, the key concept of it, that is to respect all life.
Our vision statement for the property is to run a simple and enjoyable dairy operation. It's got to produce high sustainable profits, and we also want to take pride in how the farm looks and functions as well. The sustainability is a big thing for us. What I've come to realise, and the biggest change I've had, is that that economics has got to coexist with the environment.
We're all working together, community's getting a benefit, it's actually improving the environment, and it actually gives a real good support to know that, that the farming base and commercial use of water is actually contributing to the environment well-being.
Good quality water is absolutely critical to what we do. For the last 16 years of my working life I've been into the aquaculture, so mussels predominantly. But my father and I years ago were involved in the scallop enhancement projects.
Fonterra says that they can get 25% more on the global market because of the New Zealand's green and clean image. So that's something that's a positive for New Zealand farmers. The rest of the world can produce lots of milk, but it's not necessarily as good a quality, and it doesn't have the wonderful story that we have here in New Zealand.
We're a small niche tourist business that depends entirely on the quality of the rivers around here. In this area there are 14 fantastic kayak runs. At one point we were listed in a US magazine as one of the top 10 whitewater destinations in the world. The Buller River's got a National Water Conservation Order on it, which is fantastic. The riparian strip is protected for its wild and scenic values. If you want jobs for your young children, your teenage children in the service industry in the holidays, then you need a tourist industry.
As a guide, I mean, I'm very aware of how many professional guides are using this. There's a good probably between maybe 20 and 30 just around the Nelson, sort of greater Nelson area, that are actually using this as a resource.
Tasman streams are home to an amazing abundance and diversity of fish species, particularly those streams close to the coast that have a natural meander pattern and overhanging trees. The best streams have good variety of water depth and width, variety of bank shape, variety of bed material including woody debris and trees over the water that feed the stream with a rain of insects, leaves and other food. On more popular days, it is estimated that over 1,000 people are out whitebaiting in Tasman. Tasman also has many nationally significant rivers for trout fishing.
Lots of other New Zealanders feel a connection to the waterways for different reasons, and that to do with, very similar to us, is to do with future generations being able to do what they've done for years.
So myself and colleagues at Tasman District Council have spent a lot of time analysing and summarising the data that we've collected over the last 15 years, and it's all present in this report that's all on our website.
The standout messages are: rivers and catchments with a lot of forest or wetlands are in a very healthy state. Smaller lowland unshaded streams and catchments with pastoral land and urban streams need attention.
Tasman is really blessed. It's an amazing region, and I think we need to recognise how special our rivers are at a national scale. Some of the amazing rivers, we have the Motueka and the Takaka and the Ariari and Waimea, they're all amazing rivers. We have some of the clearest water in the country, up in the Nelson Lakes area. We really need to recognise how special what we have in Tasman District and look after it.
Key trends found through council monitoring programs show: improving water clarity at 9 sites, improving ammonia levels at over a quarter of all monitoring sites. Ammonia largely comes from urine, and now, with so many streams are fenced and animal effluent and sewerage discharges treated better, there is real improvement. The Motupupi River near Takaka was one of the slimier streams due to high nutrient levels, and now it is so much better.
People have put in a lot of effort, and it's important to demonstrate that that's making a difference and things are improving. Some of these problems are, in terms of water chemistry, water quality and river health, are long-term problems and stems from at a large scale. Really, we need to be thinking at a whole catchment level.
So a healthy waterway is one where the water is clear, there's very little slime on the bed of the waterway, it's got overhanging trees, it's got woody debris in the bed.
So it's not just the quality of the water itself, it's also the structural elements of the stream, the habitat. Habitat is the physical makeup of the stream, the meander pattern, the water depth, bank shape, bed material, and overhead cover from trees. Variety is needed in each of these factors. For example, deeper pools with some undercut banks for the bigger fish. Streams with a good habitat has so much more life than those without. It is in the smaller creeks within 10 to 15 kilometres of the coast that benefit the most, as they usually hold the greatest amount of life. People are already seeing a difference within 5 to 10 years of planting up smaller creeks. We are learning to get the balance right between man's need to keep the stream in one place and nature's desire for the stream to move around a bit. The overuse of rockwork along stream banks has been implicated in the degradation of a habitat.
But these smaller ones, like that there, I think they work quite well. But the longer ones, you can see in here, not only is it an eyesore, but I don't think they work very well. They don't create that little pool in behind you see off the little rock groin. It just creates a big fast section of water, which I think leads to more erosion. In a perfect world, a little bit of planting around those to sort of hide them a little bit and create a bit of shade over the river as well, which will help cool it down and again make for good habitat.
Fine sediment is a major issue, not only for our rivers, but also for our marine ecosystems. Fine sediment fills up the spaces between the stones in the bed that is such an important place for housing native fish and invertebrates. Toxic algae gets a real advantage from fine sediment depositing on the bed during stable flow periods in spring to autumn. Several dogs have died from eating the toxic algae, and all but one of these were in the Waiiti River and Waimea rivers. Fine sediment typically gets into waterways from runoff during rain from areas of significant disturbance by farm animals where the earth has been worked, such as ploughing or cultivation, stock trampling banks and winter cropping, road building, forest harvesting and earthworks for subdivisions. Part of our estuaries, particularly the Waimea and Muturi, have become excessively muddy. These areas no longer support the cockle beds and other species harvested for food.
Well, the key issues I see mainly here is the siltation issues. So every time it rains, everything we've done on land might get washed away and look clean in the spot it was dumped, but it all ends up out here in the ocean.
When I bought this property some 12, 14 years ago, the creek was running through on two sides. It had about 30 to 40 centimetres of silt, which had built up this over my gumboots, and there was very little life within the stream that I could find. So the students and I probably spent a day a week over a month testing the stream and then planting it out. And over the years, as these plants have grown, which you can see, it's almost a complete cover over the stream, the silt has magically disappeared.
When there is too much sediment in the water, people find it less pleasant to use, and anglers find it much harder to see the fish. Many fish rely on sight to feed, and so need clear water. Council routinely measures water clarity by sighting a black disc looking horizontally through the water. There are some exceptionally clear waters in Tasman districts, such as Te Waikaropupu Springs near Takaka and Blue Lake and Nelson Lakes National Park. Over 20% of monitored streams in Tasman have much more fine sediment in the bed and lower than expected clarity. These are typically smaller streams in pastoral and urban landscapes. Where we like to swim in water temperatures over 18 degrees. For trout, this is enough to stop them feeding. Over 24 degrees and a number of species will die. The main reason that streams get too hot is that the bush that once overhung the stream was removed. Like water temperature, the issue of dissolved oxygen is most often a problem in smaller unshaded streams in summertime. Fish and invertebrates need oxygen to breathe, just like we do. And, just like us, fish cannot hold their breath for long, so even short periods of low oxygen can be fatal. When oxygen levels get below 50% saturation, many species will die. Most often, low oxygen occurs at night, and is caused by excessive growth of aquatic plants. When you get plants choking the waterway, dissolved oxygen will fluctuate wildly from the low oxygen during the night, and early morning to the high during the day when plants photosynthesize. The shaded stream fluctuates only a small amount. Slime, particularly the stringy algae, occurs mainly when there is a combination of long daylight length, stable flows, and moderate to high nutrient levels. When the long, stringy slime covers more than about 30% of the bed of a stream, it is considered to have adverse effects on life in the water as well as on the enjoyment of the people using that area. Here in the low Kaituna, the nutrients coming in from Mackay Creek are stimulating the growth of algae. The spring-fed streams of the Waimea Plains have the highest nitrate levels in the district. A lot of work is going on now to try to identify the causes. A key solution to the problem of all these issues described so far is to plant trees along the stream, providing shade and the added benefits of feeding the stream with the rain of insects and leaves. Pollution from dairy effluent and human sewage that used to be prevalent 10 years or more ago is fortunately seldom an issue now. More of our rivers are swimmable more of the time. However, we still get contamination from individual septic tanks.
But I see TDC, I took the kids for a drive yesterday. We had a look at the new sewage treatment plant and it's really tidy.
Whilst agriculture, farming, horticulture is in the public eye, mainly because of the scale of it. Everyone has a role, even in their own community. I mean, the stuff you wash down the drain and what you wash your car with and all the rest of it all has an impact as well. So it's not just agriculture which is a part to play, but everybody. The first thing to do is, or what we've done is taken the approach of fencing anyway. So if you're going to be fencing off these waterways, just moving the fence out a little bit further seems to be the thing to do. And then when you've got that area fenced off, well, what are you going to do with it? So you might as well fill it up with plants that are going to actually keep the weeds and things down with a bit of luck. The biggest problem we have with any riparian management is actually looking after things after we've planted it. Planting's the easy part.
Fencing off grassy swales like this one can make a massive difference to water quality in the rivers downstream. The long grass will filter contaminants that will not be filtered by runoff flowing through leaf litter under trees. Wetlands are very important for maintaining water quality. They are extremely good filters when located to intercept runoff from pasture before it enters the stream. Wetlands are also important for water storage.
So this is Tukurua Swamp, and it goes from just down below the highway here, all the way up this valley here, and right around the corner, you can't see the top of it, goes right around the corner into Kahurangi National Park. So it's one of the last undrained coastal swamps left in Golden Bay. And even when I came in 1979, there were quite a few of them still left along the highway, even that people used to drive past, and they were all slowly drained for dairy farming.
In 2007, we were invited to go by Dairy NZ to go down to the west coast, and we saw the worst case of riverside erosion that I've ever seen, and it was just the farmer down there in the lower catchment was losing a lot of ground. Big trees going, you know, that had been there for several hundred years were just being eroded away. And it was because the wetlands had been removed higher up in the catchment as there'd been dairy conversions done there. And this meant that the water sped up and caused erosion further down.
I believe that it's very, very important that we do keep wetlands like this one behind us. You know, it's a wonderful reservoir of water for my farm. And at this stage, in the 15 years I've been here, this creek's never dried up in the summer. So it is very important.
This wetland shown here in the Buller catchment was spilling out onto the neighbouring paddocks and reducing productivity. With both production and wetland values needing to be maintained, a solution needed to be found. Council worked with the farmer without any regulation to allow the drain to be deepened slightly on the downslope side of the wetland and spoil place to form a bund immediately on the upslope of the drain to keep the wetland wet. The end result is that the water that was otherwise flowing onto the pasture could be diverted away in a drain whilst not draining any water from the wetland.
So that it kept the wetlands wet, and the health and the vigour of those plants over there is just unbelievable.
Re-establishing some of the wetlands, you know, those places are all the kidneys and livers of the estuaries and therefore the oceans, you know. It got to a certain point where some of the overseas markets weren't too keen on what was going on. You know, they were finding large amounts of E. coli in the water and sometimes in the muscle tissue samples. We were on the verge of not being able to export to some countries because of it. Once again, the farmers, especially in the Ariri Valley, and that's where the problem was lying, in the Ariri River, about a 98% of the farmers out there rolled up their sleeves and says, oh look, you know, our industry's affecting other people, not only our marine farming industry, it was also affecting, you know, the tourist industry. So they rolled their sleeves up and did a lot of hard work and good things and really got together as a community and banded together with the marine farmers and come up with a solution. And while things still aren't perfect, it's improved a hell of a long way, and I for one am really grateful for what the dairy farmers did.
We found in about 2002, we were asked to go to a meeting in one of the houses here in the valley, that there was an issue in the river with E. coli, something we'd never really heard of or even thought about. We had probably a few years previously had quite a change in the valley where there was a lot of dairy conversions going on, and a lot of the farms had property on either side of the river, and it had always been the practice the stock just went from one side to the other. With the conversions, that meant that the cows were crossing once or twice a day, or sometimes more, and that was part of the issue with the E. coli that we were getting in the river. So once that funding finished and we actually achieved the target of getting the river low enough in E. coli to be swimmable again, the emphasis and the community groups sort of meeting sort of stopped. So from then on, everybody just went about their business and we actually tried to make improvements. Part of that funding that we got, we all got environmental plans for our farms, and that has been very helpful to all of us. It gives us a tool to look at when we're doing any development on the farm. Also, it was a way of having a fresh set of eyes looking at our farm.
75% of freshwater fish in the district need to migrate from the sea up into our rivers and back again as part of their life cycle. Structures placed in waterways such as culverts, weirs and dams can block the ability of fish to access streams, reducing the diversity and abundance of fish life. Many fish can climb up over wetted surfaces, sometimes up very high waterfalls, but they cannot jump or get up over an overhang. Most often the fix is easy, attaching a flap to the end of a culvert and strands of rope. Council is happy to help provide materials and even do the work if needed.
Historically, there's been a very big undercut drop here, and I always knew about it, but I never thought it might affect the fish as much. But as I got to know my swamp, I realised there were an enormous population of banded cockapoo upstream from here, but downstream there were not only banded cockapoo but the other species of whitebait as well, and it became obvious to me that they weren't able to get up this big undercut here. They needed assistance, so we developed a plan. I basically developed a plan to make this fish ladder here. It enables all the fish species now to be able to come up into these little pools here, have little rests, and then come up and through the fume up there and then into the swamp. And there's a lovely little pool here where they congregate often before they come up and stuff. So now we're getting fish on both sides now.
Our urban streams suffer a lot from road runoff, people tipping paint and other chemicals down the drain, and zinc filings from new roofs. Urban streams are more flood prone because less water can soak into the ground. Public opinion surveys of Tasman residents show consistently that the health of our streams is the #1 environmental issue. In the last 5 to 10 years, Council's engineering department has responded to this and moved to integrate ecological and amenity outcomes with this traditional focus on flood capacity. The Bork Creek is a good example of this.
You know, it's an engineering project to relieve Richmond of flooding, but it also, during that process, it's involved a lot of the ecological, public amenity and consultation with all stakeholders.
And our stormwater guys, who traditionally like a long straight drain, they have bought into having a meandering channel, islands, planting in the channel, which for them is a maintenance issue. And so we've had to sort of work together on managing all those different needs and wants.
When Bork Creek was diverted to the new channel, thousands of fish were recovered and moved safely to new homes. Only a few years ago, most would have been destroyed.
We've had the opportunity as freshwater ecologists to actually get in and work alongside of the contractors, and by working together we've been able to have some very good outcomes.
Cultural health assessments are also increasingly applied to projects and streams likely to cause adverse effects. This structured assessment carried out by iwi can be used to determine any degradation or improvement of the health and mahinga kai, or food, of the stream following the works.
We know that we have contributed to enhancing and restoring the waterways that have perhaps had some pretty hard impacts.
Water isn't just a commodity. We don't see ourselves separate from the water. We are part of them and they are part of the water's part of us.
We live here. We like to see things improving and doing better. So anything that's enhancing the environment and making it look better, we're all for it. We focus on areas where we think we're going to have the most impact and be most beneficial for the environment. If farmers are doing a good job, well, everyone else is going to benefit as well, aren't they? It's all about a social licence, you know. Instead of being public enemy number one, we want to be seen as credible stewards of the environment.
In Golden Bay's Aorere Valley, farmers and conservationists working on a voluntary basis have come together to plant over 25,000 plants over almost 10 years from 2006.
My vision would be to have all the waterways fenced, which are, and then also as we go further on, just further enhance the riparian plantings. The other thing we've done environmentally too is, because it's such a wet farm, we've built a feed pad. That was part of our risk management strategy as well. We just had to get the cows off the paddocks when it was wet. We were doing damage to the soils, and then our regrowth consequently later on in future rounds was reduced as well. But I must admit, like, the TDC's been brilliant with providing fencing materials, and so part of that project is we provide the labour and the machinery to erect the fence and maintain it in the future years. But just the TDC front up with that money has been unbelievable too, and Golden Bay Stream Care providing the plants at a pretty low cost.
Just one row of plants isn't usually enough, mostly because they're usually flooding areas as well, and often that one row will get washed away. So the width is really important, and doing the preparation. So when we started 9 years ago, and it looked like the one on Brendan's across the road, and yeah, put it now. This is wonderful. Well, I think the main thing is that it can't just all be done at once, and but if you don't start, it'll never get done, and to just do it a bit at a time.
The sustainability thing keeps on coming up, and to be, I want this farm, I want to be a good steward of the land. A lot of farmers just see the cost and the time of fencing off the waterways and bridging and culverting, but there are economic benefits as well, so I'd like to get that across. And my biggest piece of advice would probably just bite off a little bit at a time. Don't bite off too much that you can't manage.
I was invited to go and join in the fish survey, which I thoroughly enjoyed, because there were certainly a few more things than old eels in the creek, and the staff seemed very enthusiastic about what they found in the creek, and we discussed what things enhance fish life, like more cover on around the creek and so on. And then it was suggested that why didn't I try doing a little bit of planting and start in a very small way, and with the enthusiasm and help of the council, we've made a bit of a start, but there's an awful long way to go.
The first 10 or 15 years I was here, we were busy organising groups of kayakers to pull out old cars and trailers and diesel Bowsers and bicycles and lead acid batteries and quite frighteningly lots of fence wire. So that's been a big turnaround in local attitudes. I think people have got a lot better at not throwing things in the river.
One of the key ways to improve the health of waterways is to plant trees along the banks. Right now, there are more funds available for plants and weeding than ever before.
Our first planting, we did a huge door-to-door advertising letterbox drop, and we finished up with approximately 90 people down here on our first day's planting, in which we planted 4,000 plants on that first day. So it was a wonderful start to the project. The Chater Road wetland is actually a very important wetland in terms of it's the main feeder for this stream, or one of the two main feeders for this stream.
Before the bypass was started, the TDC did a study on the fish in the stream, and apparently there were 8 different native fish found here. So really important that we provide protection for the stream for that reason.
We've estimated a 10-year project. We're looking at it as a 10-year project. And the only way we can get enough plants for this area is to apply for funding and obtain that funding. It has become a passion, because I mean, it excites us to see the plants growing, It excites us to see the fish in the stream, and there's more people using it all the time, so that, you know, the whole thing is just, it's one of those things that almost feeds itself, so to speak.
Well, yeah, a lot about planting and where the trees are meant to be, and you know, just that they're in the right habitat and that's not too dry.
Yeah, how to properly care for the plants.
And just regularly weeding things and just looking after it, and how we can actually get them to be big. You know, when you've just planted something, you feel really good because you know you've helped. So
help the environment.
Yeah.
Help like grow native trees and all that, coming back.
Yeah.
Owning land is always a privilege, probably a greater and greater privilege as time goes by. And so, especially if you've got a little treasure like this on the land, then I think we're moving into a more environmentally sensitive era, and so it becomes a sort of a logical way to think. You know, we have had the riches of the land in a kind of agricultural sense. Let's turn around and see if we can look after these natural taonga in a way that perhaps we didn't in the past, to be really honest. I came out here with the Friends of Pearl Creek 5 or 6 weeks ago, and we did this planting here. They'd mostly be, you know, middle-aged like myself. A lot of them could well be retired, I suspect, Richmond people, and they're very keen to be involved, to see a wetland grow and to have a very, you know, active part in that themselves. So that's fantastic, you know. And I thought when I was here those few weeks ago, having spent a lot of time on this farm here, doing things like, you know, chaff cutting and stack building and hay baling and so on, as we always did, that this collaborative effort here, the Friends of Pearl Creek, it's that collaborative spirit that used to be generally associated with agriculture, which is it's another version of that. It's been transferred to this restoration, you know, project, and it's a fantastic feel that people can still see that need and still come together to do something so productive.
The people that we met from the TDC and Landcare Trust had a really good way of passing that information over to us. There were some really good meetings and discussions with a whole range of farmers and other people in the valley that lived here. They came along, they had an interest as well, and there was no blame attached to anybody. It was all about what could we do to change things and make the river better for our families and, you know, swimmable. Just start taking notice of the river that we'd, you know, just sort of taken for granted.
Collaborative governance groups were set up by council in the Waimea and Takaka areas in 2014 to get a much more detailed grip on water quality and river flow issues. These groups, representing the community, are tasked with deciding what the limits on river flow and water quality should be, as directed by the National Policy Statement for Freshwater Management. The group includes local farmers, iwi and conservationists, who sometimes have conflicting views about managing the water resource.
As you know, I'm a member of the FLAG, Freshwater Land Advisory Group, and that covers a broad spectrum of the Golden Bay locals, and we're making decisions that are going to affect the whole of the bay and maybe even the whole top of the South Island in the future on the way our freshwater's used. And because there are so varied personalities and different backgrounds for work and industries, you know, we get a much broader, clearer picture of what's going on. As a long-term local, I know everybody on the flag as well. The farmer groups that are on the flag, they're going to be the most affected by the decisions of the flag, but they understand also that aquaculture is a huge way forward for the bay and is creating plenty of employment and adding to the money going round in the bay already.
Together, in a myriad of ways, we can work to look after our rivers, our lifeblood.
What could you do that's nicer than gardening with your community? I think it's a neat opportunity that for people to get involved in something for their community. It's a lovely thing to do and a good feeling.
They understand that we can all survive. We've just got to sharpen up the way everybody's doing things.
Environment is very important to us.
We need to acknowledge that this is a whole of community approach. We need to thank people when they are doing the work, and we need to acknowledge where they're doing the work, which is quite substantial.
We will look back on this and think, oh, the river's still here, we've done this, and there's probably some more critters in here.
So feel like so proud of ourselves because we did this, and we're protecting our environment and helping it grow.
And there's a piece of us that's going to stay here forever.
Taku hei, hei kura hei ariki, hei rauhuia e, he kura nui, he kura roa, he kura tahito. He kura katu hae po, he hei wahaki, he hei reka reka tō wairua. E re rei e re ki ta whiti e